3 reasons to celebrate Thanksgiving, or 3 ways to celebrate Thanksgiving, or maybe just 3 things to think about as you're celebrating Thanksgiving. So, if you've been following this video series on Thanksgiving in the United States, I have been talking about a couple different things. First, I was talking about the creation of a new story, and then I was talking a bit about made an attempt at what my new story might be. And bringing all of that together, I want to sort of offer 3 different ways that we can celebrate Thanksgiving this year in a way that's both traditional, authentic, and also, I think, legitimate and appropriately respectful. And so, but in order to do that, before I get to the 3 reasons to celebrate Thanksgiving, I need to tell us a little bit about how we got here in the first place. So, you heard the story about that first Thanksgiving in 1621. There's no reason why we should have remembered that Thanksgiving happened. It was written in these people's journal and was definitely consumed by other celebrations of Thanksgiving over time. It was recovered by a historian named Sarah Hale. Sarah Hale was the editor of the Godoy's Ladies book, which is a magazine, and she was on a 37-year campaign to bring forward Thanksgiving as a celebration. It was celebrated in different ways throughout New England or in different places, but she wanted there to be one national holiday that could bring everyone together. And she, through her magazine and letter writing campaigns, she made a great effort to have this become like a thing and to organize it. We can give Sarah Hale credit for the menu, like turkey, cranberries, stuffing, all of that. Those were things that she was putting together as her menu. All the costumes and the design, the pilgrims, the hats and the belt buckles and so forth. Those people were too poor to be having shiny shoes. They were living in brown clothes, probably. They were refugee pilgrim separatists. So they didn't have a bunch of fancy pilgrim clothes. And all of that symbolism was discovered and created by Sarah Hale. And also she's the one who first mixed up the Pilgrims and the Puritans. She called them Puritans, but the Puritans were the ones who came later. And the word pilgrim didn't even exist in her life later, soon after her death. And the word pilgrim was used in the first time. So just putting that into context, she made this campaign. Abraham Lincoln listened to it. She had written to all the presidents, but Abraham Lincoln listened to it. And in the middle of the Civil War, in 1863, Abraham Lincoln made the Thanksgiving Proclamation. And it was an effort to unite the country. 1863, by the way, is the same year that the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect. And just a note of history that I learned while doing research here. By proclaiming the emancipation of slaves, it upped the ante on the Civil War, because the Civil War was not just about preserving the Union then, but really became about slavery. And so that was a fix there. Actual emancipation of the slaves took longer than that, and is also an ongoing project in certain ways. See 13th Amendment. Go ahead and Google it. You'll figure out about that. It's a story for another day. Okay, so 1863, Lincoln made this proclamation, and I will share a bit about it at the end when I get to the 3rd reason for celebrating. So that's how we got here. We're celebrating this holiday. And then, of course, it's had this effect of sugarcoating, glossing over the overall horrors of the European and English destruction of Native American culture, and English and other Europeans, Spanish, obviously, various cultures doing this. It glosses that over. and might even make it think that everything was really good. But there's a nugget of wisdom in what Sarah Hale was saying. And this is, I think I talked about in these other pieces, that there is something to highlight of this is what we long for. And I'm going to call this the first reason to celebrate Thanksgiving. To use this as opportunity to tell the story that's a contrast of the overall experience of this humanity-changing encounter between Europeans and Native Americans on what they called Turtle Island at the time, across many cultures. And to use this as an opportunity to open this conversation about what was it like for these people to come together for a feast across culture and difference to help each other out in the face of harm and deeper challenges. What can we learn from this? What can we learn about facing the reckoning with the actual challenge, but also reckoning with the part of us that really wants to come back together and heal and repair? And so it's an opportunity to create a conversation about repair and healing. It's also a great time to talk about the true history of this experience, to take this moment rescued from history by Sarah Hale and bring it forward. And as you look at this true history, there will be space for mourning. And many Native American people since the 70s and beyond, of all peoples, also on Thanksgiving celebrate a national day of mourning. And it's interesting to think about how we can both mourn what we lost, this lost opportunity, while also letting that create hope for the opportunity that we want. There are also various documentaries about Native American history. And I would say I've heard from someone who I trust a lot, and though I have not seen it yet, Kill All the Brutes is a very interesting story of colonialism, if you really want to get a history of that. So, reason number one to celebrate Thanksgiving, or way to celebrate Thanksgiving, is by using this opportunity to talk about the true history and to lift up this rare moment when people oppressed of various kinds were able to come together across their differences and talk about that as something that we long for, and talk about how we can create that more and what are the barriers to that. Okay, reason number two to celebrate Thanksgiving, and or way to celebrate Thanksgiving, and or thing to consider as you celebrate Thanksgiving. This is a time of abundance. This is harvest festivals, celebration of natural abundance of life, the actual remembering of all the food and all the things that give us life. This is a deep tradition that cuts across all of our cultures. Before the Puritans and Pilgrims and came in England, there had been ancient tradition called Harvest Home, and this was a festival at the harvest time to bring the food together and come together with people and share and feast. And also across all of the Americas, the Turtle Island, Native peoples, and around the world, I'm sure, but definitely in these parts of the world, definitely in the Northeast, the Wampanoag people celebrated their harvest festivals also. And there continue to be harvest festivals. And so this is a chance to celebrate and honor the earth that we live on, the food that comes out of it, the effort to create it, the people who are cooking for you, to remember just the abundance of community and of coming together. And there's a way that is something that we all can honor and celebrate. And so if you want to take that part even deeper, pay attention to the actual harvest process What is the food that is happening that is seasonal right now? What is the food that is growing local to you? Or where is the food that you're eating even coming from? Have a conversation about that. Think about the process that it took for your food to be there, and take a moment to just honor all that it takes and have gratitude for the food and the water and the earth that we live on. This is something you can easily do, and to be very much in alignment with other things, with all of our shared history. And if you also would like to learn about indigenous food, it's really would be a great chance to actually learn about indigenous foods of your places. And as I say this, and this before, if you don't know who the indigenous people are on your land, look it up. You can do that at native-land.ca, and it has a map, and you can just put in your zip code or your city, wherever, what your postal code, whatever you got going on, and find out who are the native peoples of your land, and take that as an opportunity to remember them. And the third, and that brings us a bit to the third reason or practice or consideration to bring into this conversation about Thanksgiving. And this comes directly from the Thanksgiving Proclamation from Abraham Lincoln in 1863. Now, the proclamation, as I said before, is in the middle of the Civil War. And part of what he's highlighting is how beautiful that the skies are still here and the fields are still producing. We are in the middle of a war and horrible things are happening and we are losing people, but nonetheless, the United States is not at war with other countries that could have taken opportunity, and more or less the world is functioning. There's order, the laws are still working, the Constitution's still working. He also, offers gratitude for just the amazing abundance that's coming from all the industry and production. And he also, offers and speaks very much in terms that might make sense in the 1863 of like the Almighty Lord delivering and a lot of hymn and so forth. But in it, he just reminds us that even though things are hard and that we're not doing the right things right and we're doing even bad things, sinning and such, we're still here and we have grace, and we need to thank God for that. And there's some of the language in it that is some of it's so archaic or feels really out of date, or I guess just not, maybe I'm not totally comfortable with some of the language. But also some of it is so relevant to our time right now. And so I've, in the spirit of using this as a chance to offer thanksgiving and praise for mercy from, or whatever that means to Abraham Lincoln, or however you want to hold that. In a time of civil strife, and a time when things are not going well, I think there's a chance for us to reflect on that, and to say thank you, and to really bring forward what we pray for or yearn for. So I've made an attempt at kind of retooling it for 2021, post-pandemic, post-2020, Thanksgiving, non-religious prayer of sorts. And so I'm going to share that with you here. This is my readaptation of the Thanksgiving Proclamation. And a reminder, this is like the third reason to celebrate Thanksgiving is because we have a lot to be grateful for, despite our grievances, and also we have a lot to Lincoln uses the word penitence. We have a lot to offer penance for as well. Yeah, actually, this is sort of like the Lincoln version with all of our modern updated things. Here we go. We honor the land that we stand upon. We recognize the people who tended to this land for millennia, while acknowledging that it was taken from them without their consent. We celebrate the ongoing blessings of abundance and beauty of earth, field, sea, and sky, while remembering that we easily take these blessings for granted. We observe that despite a pandemic of unequalled magnitude, severe political division and strife, and the recurring reminders of our unhealed national wounds, our nation and society continues to function, and we continue to experience some of the highest quality of life in history. Despite our divisions and our differences, our systems and our society continue to find a functional balance between order and freedom, as well as between justice and mercy. Living in these times of grievance, there is opportunities for gratitude, and despite all the harm and trauma experienced and caused by ourselves, our nation, our ancestors, we are still here. And we share in our yearning for healing, repair, and redemption. Our ongoing opportunity to forgive and to heal and be forgiven is a gift beyond any human counsel or mortal hand has not made these things happen. And so, it is with one heart and one voice that we, the whole American people, solemnly, reverently, gratefully set apart and observe the last Thursday of November to offer thanksgiving and praise to the earth, the universe, God or Goddess, and with due acknowledgement of all of our deliverances and blessings. We humbly apologize and seek forgiveness for all of our national perverseness and disobedience. We ask for help in caring for all of the widows, orphans, mourners who now hold memory for those who we have lost. We seek support in caring for all the sufferers in the lamentable civil strife in which we are unavoidably engaged. We fervently seek the forgiveness, the strength, and the grace that we need to heal the wounds of the nation and to restore and transform our national human experiment into one that supports the full enjoyment of peace, harmony, tranquility, and union for all. Amen, Ashe, Aho, Om. So I offer this as someone who has struggled for many years of my life to really understand how to hold this holiday and this time with the appropriate humility and reverence and serious accountability and thoughtfulness. Offer those to you as 3 reasons to celebrate Thanksgiving this year. Thank you for watching this. I'll remind you that the day after Thanksgiving is Indigenous Remembrance Day and Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Day. So it'll be a great chance for you to get in touch with the land that you're on. So find a story, tell a story of the world that you would like to see in this great human encounter. Thank you.